On to this story now. A teachers' union is concerned about the safety of pupils at Hoërskool Roodepoort. They say a number of classrooms at the school are unstable, sagging and have cracked floors. The safety of buildings has come under the spotlight following the fatal walkway collapse at the Hoërskool Roodepoort in Vanderbijl Park. The school governing body is meeting this morning. eNCA's Lindokuhle Xulu is joining us from that particular school. Lindo, good morning to you. So, has that meeting concluded yet? What is the state of these classrooms?
Well, Xoli, it wasn't necessarily a meeting, but it was rather answers to the concerns of that school teachers union. But what has come out of this is that this particular building that they've raised concerns about at the Hoërskool Roodepoort school is that they have in fact cordoned off that building. It hasn't been in use since last year November, and they've taken the necessary precautionary measures to ensure that this particular school is a safe environment for the pupils in here. But of course, the question is, are these schools being maintained? Because we understand that some of them are in fact 70, 80 years and 90 years old in terms of the structures that are housing these particular pupils. But I am joined by Steve Mabona, the spokesperson for the Education Department here in Gauteng, who's just going to take us through what exactly happens in these buildings that we see that are decades old. But take us through the maintenance, Steve. Do you, as the department, provide the maintenance? What happens there in terms of maintaining these buildings?
Look, we do provide maintenance. There's a budget that we allocate to all the schools to say this is ring-fenced for maintenance. So we then allocate that money and send it to the schools so that the schools then will do what we call maintenance. But it's quite clear when schools realize that what we gave them, it's inappropriate or it cannot suffice to the extent that it will be now have to do some changes which are they have structural impact, then they must then indicate to the department that look, we probably need more or we need to escalate this because this is beyond us, and we will then start the process of making sure that we have our structural engineers who will be then coming to the school, check, do their necessary assessments, which will then be informing on what is it that you do in terms of your refurbishment, the rehabilitation of the structure, what is it that you need to do. Then they should be in a position to tell you that this is what you need to do. But maintenance of our schools, we do allocate funds for schools to do maintenance.
And how does the department, Steve, make sure that in fact the maintenance happens, it takes place in terms of following up after allocating those funds to the department? And if perhaps you can just give us how regular are these checks supposed to happen as far as the department is concerned?
Look, we understand that we are assisted by the SGP to govern our schools. And they are there, they are brought in the space by necessary legislation. They are elected by fellow parents. And working with them and the school, we make sure that those maintenance are happening. But we have our officials from the department. On a regular basis, they then visit the schools to check on everything that is happening there, be it curriculum, safety, all elements which form part of our process. Because what we normally say is that the SGP has a role in a school which we don't need to interfere with. A school management has a role, as much as the principal has, and the department has a role. So hence we have our own officials who visit the schools and check on the well-being, the functioning of the school. So they need to make sure that they go through. If there are issues that are escalated to them, then they must follow it up and make sure that they go to, up until head office, where we will then make sure that we intervene accordingly. But we do have officials that are allocated to schools. The official will be probably allocated to 2 or 3 schools that they're supposed to be visiting on a regular basis, and that's how we manage it.
All right, and just as the last question, this particular school, we were told by the SGP that it is 70 years old or more. But just take us through the schools around Gauteng particularly. Do we have schools that are as old as this one? And is that why it's such an important task to ensure that maintenance is done?
Definitely. I mean, that's what we preach. I mean, when we meet with the principals, when we meet with SGBs, I mean, SGB, after their election, they are orientated. You give them the know-how on how to assist us to govern the schools, because governing of a school does not mean only curriculum, does not mean only, finances at the school, does not mean only, what's happening in the classroom, also what is happening outside, including safety, because most of them, they are part of your safety team that is responsible for well-being of learners in the school. So everything, we will then work very closely with them. And all our schools, we know what is happening where. There are those that are due for maintenance, there are those that are due for refurbishment, and as the department, we will then go through the process of making sure that we have those allocations. And in terms of building new schools as well, we are focusing on that. But here, in the meantime, we'll bring your mobile classes so that they can then proceed with the curriculum.
All right, but just as a quick one, a last one, the range of schools in terms of their years, just take us through that, some of the schools that you have around Gauteng that are as old as this one. Just take us through some of the names that you have under the school that, in fact, they are as old as this one.
No, we have many old schools. I mean, your GP, your Parktown, all those schools are old. But when you look at how they are maintained, it then indicates that probably they are in the safe hands and the monitoring is very close. We just need to constantly make sure that we monitor what is happening. And when we send necessary people who are going to do that, then we shouldn't be sitting with challenges. But in terms of making sure that we improve and build new schools, we are doing that. I mean, by March, we'll be opening now 7 schools. By March, there will be 7 schools now, starting from now. Next week, there's a school that is opening. Every week, we'll be opening a school. So we're working tirelessly to make sure that we improve the infrastructure of our schools.
All right, that is the spokesperson for the Department of Education in Gauteng, Steve Mabona, taking us through the fact that there is money allocated to schools to ensure that maintenance happens. And they're saying that if that money is not enough, schools are then expected to escalate the matter to the department and ensure that they get funds such as this one. We understand that this particular school in Roodepoort will be getting refurbishments from the department to ensure that that building that has raised concerns is in fact refurbished and is ready for pupils to occupy again.